Well, that brings us to the time in the evening where I get to introduce our guest speaker. So our guest speaker tonight is Kim Willis. So Kim is over in Vietnam. He is originally from Australia. He has made the move over there and runs his business over there as a virtual business. I came across Kim, I think it was on LinkedIn, and I saw some of his posts that he made and some of the work that he's done around stories. And it really did, look like a fabulous topic for us here tonight. And seeing the power of it, I thought this is going to be a good session, because the power of storytelling is immense when it comes to business. So for those who don't know Kim, he started his journey in direct sales. And for those that don't know what direct sales are, they're the ones that go knocking on the door to door. So if you think about Kirby vacuum cleaners, Encyclopedia Britannica, those sort of things there. Well, Kim was one of those guys that was selling books door to door at age 19. So I had a real knack for storytelling, and that really helped with his ventures in the door-to-door selling environment. He entered the online marketing world in 2006. His ability to write and tell stories sort of helped him to achieve a full-time income in the online marketing world in that first month. So that alone is no big feat in itself. I tried that with affiliate marketing and failed dismally. So for him to get a full-time income out of it in the first month is a real feat. And over the years, Kim sold millions of dollars worth of products and services by leveraging the power of compelling narratives. So he's got real sort of expertise and experience in this area. So I'd like you to join me in putting your hands together to welcome to the stage Kim Willis.
Boom, boom. Thanks, Nick. So I'll share the screen now, eh?
Perfect. Sounds good as gold. Floor is yours.
Thanks for that warm introduction. There we go. And good to see a couple of familiar faces as well. Paul. Does he go on? Should still be there. Yes. Jeff. Jeff's another one. Oh. Philippine. G'day, Jeff. Yeah. All right. Storytelling for sales authority and preeminent. Well, that sounds a bit fancy, doesn't it? What does it mean? Well, I guess it means that you kind of dominate your space. So, if you're in a little industry, a niche or something like that, and you dominate, you would be called preeminent. So, yeah. Authority, what's that about? Well, just people sit up and take notice of you. And of course, we want to make sales, don't we? Yes, we want customers, we want clients, we want inquiries, leads. It's the great merry-go-round. And storytelling, of course, isn't the only method that we use, but to me, it's one of the foundational methods that ought to be included in every marketer's kit bag, kit box, toolbox, because people are motivated by stories, aren't they? People remember stories long after facts and figures have been forgotten. Right? Start out as kids. Who's telling us stories? Mum and dad, other kids, stories. We love stories, and we tend not to forget them in a hurry. And then businesses have stories, don't they? Brand stories, the story of great companies like, well, I'm a bit of a fan of Harley Davidson, right? The motorcycle company. They've got a fantastic brand story. Then you've got personal brands such as well, I'm thinking Australia, Dick Smith, but he's sort of out of the business world now. But of course, Stephen Jobs, he's deceased, the late Stephen Jobs, Elon Musk, he's very prominent now. Richard Branson, all of them, there's a lot of them who are building their personal brands. So look, storytelling is fantastic, and let's get started with the session. Just a little bit of a preamble there for you. Okay. How to use stories to grow your business. That's the official title. And I'll be covering how to use stories in different ways. So face-to-face, on the phone and on social media. So it's not just about online. It definitely helps online because it helps to build trust as well. And that's one of the big challenges that we have with the online world. How do we build trust? Well, first up, we've got to get people's attention. And that's incredibly hard, especially on a platform like Facebook, even LinkedIn, Twitter, name them. It's very hard to get attention because there are so many voices, aren't there? Look at me, look at me, look at me. You know, aren't I interesting? Look at my selfie, look at this, look at that, look at my business, right? Very hard. Storytelling is one of the ways that we can cut through. So social media, that's not the only online platform or the online method. We've got email marketing. We've got a website, let's say. So why not tell some stories on our website? Even if it's only a single page, let's tell more stories. But not just any old story. We want stories that invigorate, motivate, and even change people's minds. That would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, there's lots of ways we can tell stories online, for sure. Face-to-face, on the phone, I'll touch on those points as well. The second topic will be adventures with words, grand narratives, and small stories. Some of these points I won't spend much time on. It might be a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. There's 2 or 3 of them where I will spend more time. So your story brand, okay, talking about that. Gave you a bit of a heads up on it before. Story brands. Think of Apple, think of Coca-Cola, think of the great brands, great Aussie brands. Think of Kubra hats. That's a brand, isn't it? Or is that just the name of the product? I don't know. Anyway, different stories for different audiences and with different objectives. You a thought leader heading towards preeminence. Let stories do the heavy lifting for you. And by the way, when I say preeminence, it doesn't mean that you have to be a big player. You know, maybe you just want to dominate a small space. When I started affiliate marketing in 2006, people thought that I was everywhere online, but I wasn't. I just dominated a few little spaces. They thought I was everywhere because I would call the leads. I'd get leads and I'd call the leads and they say, oh my gosh, I've seen you on Google. I've seen you on YouTube. This is before I was doing social media, right? Yeah, I've seen you in other places. How do you do it? I said, it's very easy. I just focus on a few key small areas, micro niches, and I make it my business to be seen there. Okay, all right. Case studies and enhanced testimonials. So yeah, that's a great topic. You know, a good testimonial can be quite valuable, but a lot of the testimonials that I see from we're talking customer testimonials, a lot of the testimonials that I see from customers, they're not, I hope we're okay. But yeah, so it's quite, I've lost my train of thought thanks to that little pop-up. But oh yeah, the testimonials. So what we can do is that we can enhance the testimonial. We can give it more oomph, and I'll show you how to do that. And also I'll talk a little bit about case studies. But first, a story. This man was my granddad. And I believe I was about 6 years of age, something like that. And I think we're ending maybe, in fact, it was my grandmother's sister's daughter's wedding. That's right. Yes. So this man had a great influence in my life. He was my de facto father, right? After 12 months of marriage. So he became my real dad. And interestingly, I called him Dad for the rest of his life. I didn't call him granddad. I just called him dad. He was my dad. Okay. Now, when I was at school, in primary school, in Brisbane, Wollongong State Primary School, I was given an assignment by the teacher. Not a very nice man, I've got to tell you. There's a whole story about him, right? I've got thousands of stories. But he picked me and 4 or 5 other people to give a talk the next day. So he gave each person a little piece of paper with a word on it. And then we had to go home and kind of do a little bit of research and then come back and give a 2-minute, 5-minute, whatever it was, talk about that word. So my word was tally. Now, I had no idea. I'd never heard of it before. Tally, what's that? So anyway, I went home. I was pretty scared, actually, about having to come and front the class the next day. So anyway, I went home and I asked my mum. I said, Mum, do you know what tally means? She said, what do you ask? I said, well, the teacher wants me to give a little 5-minute talk tomorrow about tally. And I said, and she said, oh, okay, well, I know what it means, but I think you better talk to Dad or my granddad, right? He is a well-read man. He's the one to talk to. So even though he has a cigarette in his hand all the time, my family ended up becoming avowed non-smokers, but I think he kept smoking to the bitter end. But so I went and saw him and I said, look, I've been given this word called tally and I've got to give a little talk. And he said, okay, all right, well, let's look at what the word means first up, and then let's see if we can build a little story to make it interesting for the class and for the teacher. I said, well, that sounds like a good idea. So that's what he did. He gave me some advice. He gave me some ideas, got me to role play it a little bit. And he said, that'll be fine. You might want to practice it a little bit more before tomorrow, but do that. Now, the point is that that's a story, isn't it? That's a story about a story, because I had to give a little story the next day. But it's also about trust. See, if somebody else had given me that advice, I'm not sure I would have taken it. I was only 6 years of age, but it was my granddad, right? I trusted him. So the question I have for you today, how do we take people, strangers, people that we don't know from a bar of soap, on Facebook, other social platforms, how do we take those people from a point where they're not trusting, they're suspicious, sometimes hostile, to the point where they're eating out of the palm of our hands? Because I trusted him. And you want to have those sorts of relationships, building those relationships, and storytelling will definitely help. Here's a lady, she's now retired, but this was about 2018, right? And she, after I mentored her, coached her, I helped her jack up or improve her Facebook posts, her content. And then she decided to embark on an outreach program. But she said, we got to find customers. And find customers, we need to generate leads. I said, you're absolutely right, Connie. She ended up, in less than 6 months, she ended up with 121 customers. And a lot of it revolved around storytelling. Her story, my story, and other people's stories, people that she respected. Now, you may have this problem. You're just not cutting through, as I suggested earlier. And if you can't win the attention game, you're toast. A great way to do that is through powerful storytelling. I think we know that now. So let's get down to one of the topics, how to use stories in different ways. So we've got face-to-face, on the phone, on social media. All right, face-to-face. This man here, the late Stan Rex, he was a pastor at my church, but he also ran the book division, the door-to-door book division. And I got recruited as an 18 or 19-year-old, just left school, didn't go to university. And he recruited me. And so there were about 30 different people who were selling these books door to door. Was I scared? Absolutely, because I was shy, right? I was shy. But my mum said, well, it may give you more confidence or it may kill you. I said, Mum, I don't want to die. So I'll go with the confidence. She said, it'll help you to become a better communicator. I said, okay, let's do this. So I did a training. It was about a week training, and we're selling these books called Modern Ways to Health, Volume 1 and 2. Can't remember what the price was because it was a long time ago. It was commission only. And so I did the training, and the deal was that I'd go out by myself the following Monday. So there I go, knock, 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 knock. One door after another. No, don't want to talk to you. Go away. No, oh God. Then finally, after about 20 minutes, someone said, yeah, okay, come in, be nice to talk to you. Seemed like a nice young man or something like that. And I pulled out my books and my presentation thing, and well, guess what? Nothing. Nah, don't want to be healthy. Don't want these books. Okay, feeling a bit dejected. Took a bit of a break for 15 minutes, or was it an hour? And anyway, got back into the fray and knocked on some more doors. And this continued for an entire week, well, Monday through Friday, right? And by the end of the week, I was totally dejected. So Pastor Stan, who was the greatest seller of these books in the world, he had stopped selling them. He was managing the sales team. But he beat everyone in America. He was incredible. He's a freak, in fact. But he phoned me. He said, okay, we want your report for the week. And I said, well, it's not good, Stan. Pastor Stan, it's not good. I bombed. I didn't do good at all. And I feel pretty bad and even feel like I'm going to quit. He said, look, just hang in there for a little bit longer. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll come out on Monday morning and we'll knock on some doors together. How about that? I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I was scared witless. He's the number one in the world. He's going to watch me do a presentation. So anyway, that's what happened. So on the Monday, we went out, knocked on some doors, and after 20 minutes or whatever it was, someone let us into the house, sat down, did the presentation, no sale. He's walked outside. He said, okay, maybe just bad luck. We'll keep going. We'll find another one. And soon enough, we did. I did the presentation. Guess what? No sale. So we walked out and said, look, I think we've had enough. We need to do a little bit of brainstorming here. Let's go and have, orange juice or something like that. So we went to McDonald's, and he said, okay, I want you to self-diagnose what you've been doing. Is there anything that you can see that didn't work? Is there a reason that you didn't make the sales? You've had two opportunities to do it. And last week you're by yourself and you had many opportunities to do it and you didn't make one sale. And I said, I don't think I was asking questions, because I know I was taught by you to ask questions. He said, yes, that is true. Why didn't you ask the questions? I said, because I was scared of the silence. He said, right, that's a common thing. People hate the silence, so therefore they don't ask questions. Or they're scared of thinking the question is a bit impertinent and they may get rejected, right? He said, that's the first one, but there's a second one. Think back to the training we did. And I was scratching my head. I couldn't. He said, look, you didn't tell any stories. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, you're right. I didn't tell any stories. Once again, I think it was nerves, especially in front of you. But to be honest with you, when I was out by myself last week, I didn't tell any stories either. He said, okay, well, you've got to rectify this. You've got to ask the questions and you've got to tell the stories. And you ask the questions so that you can gain more information about how that person is thinking. And then you might be able to pluck a story out of thin air to illustrate a point. He said, that's what you have to do. And if you don't do it, you are going to fail. I said, okay. He said, all right, I'm going to leave you now. I have to go back to the office. You can take the rest of the day off, think about it, do a few little rehearsals in front of the mirror, blah, blah. And out you go tomorrow morning by yourself. Now, I'd love to say that I made a sale the next day. I didn't, but I did a few presentations and I could feel the confidence building. It was starting to course through my veins. So but I didn't make a sale. But the second day I did make a sale. Third day I made a sale, and the fourth sale, I think the fourth day, that was that would have been Friday, I think. I made 2 or 3 sales in the one day. Do you think I was excited? You bet. They're only books, but I thought they were good books. I was excited that I finally proved I could make this thing work, all because I took the advice. I didn't take it the first time in the training, but when he came out and mentored me, there's a lesson there, one-to-one mentoring. See that, Connie Kachia? Story, 121 customers. She was personally mentored by me. The personal mentorship, it sort of transferred. It really clicked with me when we went to McDonald's to have that orange juice. Yeah. So face to face, tell stories. Example on the phone. Okay, that's me in the early days in Vietnam. I actually live in Cambodia, but when I started traveling with my sons, we decided that Vietnam was pretty good. So yeah, sometimes I was on the phone using Skype. Didn't have Zoom back then. It's a one-to-one Zoom call, Skype call, a telephone call. I don't care. I'm going to tell some stories. I'm not just going to start telling stories straight off the bat. We want to have a conversation first. We want people to just relax and, open up a bit. But yeah, I'm going to tell stories every time. I can't help myself now. It's ingrained. All right. Now, okay, small stories that generate leads. Okay, so on social media. Now, this is a small story. Why I no longer rely, this is a Facebook post, on posting content to get my message seen. Some people say that all you need to do is post good content and sit back and wait for the leads to flow. This is a marketing-oriented post, because that's what I help people do. I help them generate leads and all of that. While this may be fine for those who have a large engaged audience, for most everybody else, it's a bit like the proverbial slow boat to China. It takes ages to get there, if at all. So I use little kind of story-based techniques in there, and then when people click on see more, there's more storytelling. Now, how many comments did I get? From that post, 126. Now, there was an offer. There was an offer there at the end, where it was a free video report on how to solve this marketing related problem. And those who wanted it, just type in the word, I think it was vid or something like that. We can actually see some of the responses on the right-hand side, because I've separated. I want to be able to read this to you. It was too small on the right-hand side, but it's exactly the same post. Okay, whatever. But they said yes. One after another, after Doc. It was Doc. Okay, right. Right. So all because I reminded people about serious issues that are happening in their business in all probability, and then I told stories to illustrate. See, content's very, very powerful. People underestimate how powerful it is. Here's another way I use social media. I use stories in social media. A couple of weeks ago, I think we're getting into 3 weeks now, which reminds me, I need to organize my next live event we'll make it 2 weeks time. I think it's in 2 weeks, yeah. But this one was called the Tower of Trust. The Tower of Trust. How to build trust at scale and make bank. Strangers today, but trusted business friends in 30 days or less. All right, so there was a lesson. It went for about 45 minutes or something like that. My talk, about 45 minutes. I did have 2 guest speakers as well. My talk might have been 35 minutes, I can't remember, but 40 minutes, let's say. Guess what? Sprinkled throughout my talk were stories, more stories. See? It makes it so much easier because you're drawing on your own life experiences or the experience of other people who you know. You know their stories. See, you don't even need to read off a script. You can just have prompter points because you know the stories. They're embedded deeply. You just need to learn how to tell them in a, compelling way. Number 2, adventures with words, grand narratives and small stories. So with, just let me check the time here. Yeah, okay. Adventures with words, see it as an adventure. A lot of people are scared of writing. Look, just see it as an adventure, have fun with it, dig deep and find those stories. Start sharing, don't forget your brand narrative. What do you stand for? Overall, you could be a coach. You could be a consultant, other type of solopreneur, you're an expert, something like that, or you're running a more conventional business. What is the overarching narrative there? What do you stand for? What does your business stand for? But I'd say just, if you're not writing much content at the moment, just jump in there, jump in. I'm going to give you a few tips there anyway. Just let me continue. Your role is not about creating content. It's about creating connection at a deep level. Don't create content for the sake of it. Don't create content where you're talking about yourself all the time. Talk about them, their problems, their pain. What is their pain? I bet if I did a little workshop just on pain points, and I got everybody to, write some pain points down and then brainstormed it a bit, I bet you'd come up with 10, 15, 20 micro pain points that your typical ideal client is experiencing. Number 3, your story brand for personal and business brands. All right. So what is your overarching narrative? I touched on that, the story of your brand. Think Harley Davidson, I mentioned Harley, I mentioned Think Apple. How can you apply it? Okay, they're big companies, but how can you apply it to your business? What is your overarching narrative? It's one thing to write little posts for LinkedIn, impactful posts, that's really important. But if people go to your about section, what's the message you're gonna convey to them there? What is that message going to be? Okay, is there a higher purpose here? Do you have a cause? Do you have a mission? Number 4, different stories for different audiences and with different objectives. What is your ideal client profile? Are you clear on that? What pains these people? Write for them. Write down list of pain points and just write about one pain point, whatever it is. If you're in the health niche, what's the pain point? If you're a relationship coach or something like that, same thing. If you're in tech, I have a client that I work with. He's into CRMs and all of that. He's doing very well. His business is growing quickly, but he wants more growth. So I'm helping him. But, what's the pain points there? It's tech. It's very dry. But, if we look at what problems tech solves, and then we relate that back to individuals who are going to be using the tech, we'll probably find some pain points, right? Things that they're not doing now that they should be doing. And if they did it, they'd solve a problem or two, wouldn't they? They'd solve a problem or two because they haven't been fully digitalized, perhaps. You, a thought leader, heading towards preeminence. Let stories do the heavy lifting for you. I think we've got the message now, don't we? So preeminence, what is that? Surpassing all others, superiority. See that? Thought leader. You're a key player in your space. I'm sitting on someone's bed here at the moment because I don't live in this house. I'm just here because I'm with my family. So just bear with me. If the camera falls off, it's okay. I'll retrieve it. It's sitting there very, very loose. Okay. Thought leader. You don't completely dominate like preeminence. You dominate, but you still have influence, right? That's pretty good. Not many people get to preeminence, I might add. But more people get to become thought leader. And then we've got the bottom one there, subject matter expert, SME. You know your stuff. You are respected because you are considered to be an expert. But it doesn't mean to say that you're going to change people's opinions because you haven't probably mastered the messaging game yet. And that the great thought leaders, they're very good with content. They're good with other types of messaging as well. And the best of them prosecute a case for change, which is what I do. I prosecute a case for change. I challenge existing assumption. Some people may not like it. Okay. You will get a bit of pushback when you assume the role of a full thought leader, where a subject matter expert, you're just demonstrating your expertise all the time. That's good, but I don't think it's as good as thought leadership. So just think about those things. Preeminence is the key to gaining and sustaining attention. It starts with superior content and ends with an audience building strategy that ensures that the right people see it. That's my definition of it anyway. Okay, the last one is case studies. So caught up there. I was afraid we're going to get left behind. Okay, case studies and enhanced testimonials, how to use them to attract perfect customers like bees to a honeypot. All right, okay. Let me click the next one here. Just talk about case studies to start with. This was a survey. It was conducted by one of the big marketing houses in the US, I believe. They did this, major survey to find out what influences buyers the most. This is in the B2B space. It'd be a bit different if you're selling to consumers, but if you're selling to businesses, it's probably fairly accurate. But we see there that number 3 was case studies. Number 1 was, it was data sheets and things like that. This is more for tech type people. White papers was number 2, but case studies and success stories, number 3 at 31%. And all of the rest of them fall down, drop from there. And I found it interesting that, like, ebooks, people give out an ebook as a kind of a lead magnet. They offer a lead book. They offer an ebook as a lead magnet. And then to get the ebook, you have to, give your email address, you go to a capture page and do that. But in terms of effectiveness, according to this survey, they're pretty well useless. Now, that doesn't mean to say that offering an ebook isn't a good thing. It can be if it identifies the sort of people that you want to help. It doesn't matter what's in the ebook. My view is that I wrote an ebook, and I don't believe any more than 30 people read it over a period of years, yet hundreds and hundreds of them downloaded it, right? So, but it didn't worry me because they indicated that the problem that I discussed in the ebook is a problem that they probably have. See? And they're probably experiencing some pain. Yeah. So it doesn't worry me that much, but I just thought it was interesting, that survey, that ebooks were not rated highly. This is one of my earlier clients, Tess from Sydney. I introduced her to the online world, and now she's got a successful digital marketing agency in Sydney. All right. She tells a little bit of a story about me there. Now, we'll come back to case studies. Let's talk about enhanced testimonials. Now, there are different types of testimonials. You've just got your stock standard testimonial, where you just copy and paste their testimonial, add it to the website, feature it on social media, etc. Or you can go the next level and tell a story. Okay, you can tell a story. Now, here is an example. I wrote this, but here's an example of a blue-collar business using enhanced testimonials. Because at the bottom of the screen there, highlighted in yellow, is Mary Turnbull giving part of her testimonial. But we only featured part of it at the bottom. The rest of it was editorial. Okay? And look at the headline there. See? Bring out the pain. Remind people of their experiences with dealing with tradesmen, etc. Right? See, so you can use this stuff in blue collar industries, white collar, whatever. You can do it. Right? Stories. So took the testimonial, gave it more oomph. Mini case study. Okay, this was a guy who had a digital marketing agency in the UK, actually in Scotland, and he had a client in Australia called Salt by Hendrix. The founders had Kelly Collis. She's had quite a number of write-ups and things like that. So I wish I had the before and after, but this is definitely the after. The before was just minimal content because the guy that has this client, he doesn't like writing too much. So he just gave the facts and the figures. Did this, got this result from ads, Facebook ads. So I said, right, well, that's great, but some people love a story as well, so let's give them both. We give them the facts and the figures, and we give them the story, and so we appeal to both segments. Me, I like to read a story, and it's not a long story. It's a mini story. So and also see in the headline there, a play on words. The name of the business is called Salt. So spicy returns for salt. See, a play on word. I love wordplay. So and then the result. So that'll catch their eye. A specific result, and then that'll lure them into the body copy, and then they build more belief by reading the text. See, that's how we do it. Standard case study. This is case studies that we did for, there's two of them, but there's only one I'm featuring here. This is for a cafe in Melbourne, and it talks about the problems that they had during COVID with the lockdowns and all the restrictions on, they had a sit down banned. This is in Victoria, remember? That was banned. So he innovated. They could do takeaway. They had to innovate and to attract people because people didn't want to, they were scared, right? So he used music, all sorts of different techniques. So I interviewed him. I interviewed this customer of my client, accountant client. And then we told the story. Entrepreneur weathers the storm. You see it there? Yeah. So that's a bit longer. It's not a big case study, but it's longer. There's more text there, lots of photos, people like that as well. So there you have it. Case studies are great, but so are enhanced testimonials. Now, okay, we'll get to that in a minute, but just a little thought here. What if you're new to business? You're new to business and you don't have any success stories. You don't have any case studies as yet. What do? You can't lie. It's got to be based on fact. With one exception, there is an exception, but it requires a little bit more sophistication. But what I normally say is, look, just go and do some free work for somebody and get a result, even if it's not a huge result. Just help them, go to a better place. Help them get a better result. And then you do it for a reduced fee, or you do it, this is assuming you're a coach or some kind of an expert fee-for-service provider, and you do it for free, you do it for a reduced price or something like that. And the deal is that if you help them get a good result, you can feature their story. That's one way of doing it. There is another way, but it's a more sophisticated version, and that is you write an avatar story, okay? And it's loosely based on truth. You've got to tell people that in the beginning. But it's basically the story of typical people who are experiencing typical problems in your niche, right? You can do that. You can do it ethically. And people, look, think about, you watch a movie, you watch something on Netflix or something like that. Most of it's fiction, isn't it? If it's drama, it's fiction. Comedy, it's fiction. But especially with drama or even sci-fi, there is a point, if the story's been very well told, a part of the brain suspends disbelief somewhere during that movie, and the part of the brain is actually believing it's happening, and they see themselves as the hero in the story. Yet it's a work of fiction, right? So think about it. All right, different techniques and analogies, a comparison between two things, typically that require explanation or clarification. Scenarios, a written outline of a movie. You probably learnt these things at college or school or something like that, but just a reminder. A written outline of a movie, novel, or stage show, giving details of the plot and individual scenes. Metaphors, we hear that one a lot. A figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally applied. Okay? Yeah. And then the final one, this one's a bit tougher from a writing point of view. A story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted. Sorry, I cannot read it because I've got all the little video things here. Let me just move that across there. A story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden message. It could be a morality tale, right? Could be a morality tale. Sometimes really good politicians, great speakers do it, but you can do it in business as well. Okay. All right. Now, here is what happens when we create deeper connections with content. Quality engagement, you build a community. If you're posting on LinkedIn or Facebook or one of these platforms, and you're not getting at least, and you've been doing it for a while, you're not getting at least 10 public engagements in the form of comments, replies, there's something wrong with your content. There's something wrong. This is moment of truth time. If it's just crickets, like one cursory like, the occasional comment, you got a problem with your content. So if you don't get that right, it makes it much harder to generate leads. You saw those leads at the beginning, just from one post. There's about 60 of them, just from one post on Facebook. You get more advocacy. More people will start advocating for you. Got 2 people here tonight who advocated for me. Or one of them did, Jeff, and Paul has done it many other times. Easy sales, that's nice. Even if you have to do a bit of outreach, talking to people, it'll be easier because they've got the reference point, your content. It becomes an enduring source of truth, and they can scroll down going back months and months and months. They start to build more and more belief in you. More posture and authority. Posture, not physical posture, but mental posture. You have more posture. They're more likely to listen to what you have to say when you say something to them. It's more likely that they're going to listen to you. And it can open doors, career or business opportunities. You know, since I've been here, I've only been here for 2 weeks. I had an introduction to somebody, an Aussie from Sydney, who quit Sydney during the COVID period there because he refused to have a vaccine, right? So he set up a thriving digital marketing business in Saigon, right? Now, who referred this person to me? Someone who saw my content, has some belief in me, and knew that I was looking to talk to some of these types of business, and she thought immediately of me. See, that's what content and the peripheral activities around content can do for you. It can open doors. All right, I think I'm just about finished, folks. Just got to click this last slide here. What the hell's going on here? Boom. Okay, good on you. Okay. All right, so I'll leave the final point there. 419. All right. Instead of stroking your ego with all these fake metrics, it's better to focus on worthwhile results. So it's about impact and connection, and beautiful things flow from there. I think that's about it for me. Oh, okay, a few more thoughts. So when you use this approach, your prospects will love you. They'll lock into every word you're saying. They'll elevate you to the point where your clients see you as an expert and trusted confidant. All right. You there, Nick?
Fabulous. Thanks. Any questions there from anyone, or can you see how you can use stories in your business? There might be just one place that you could use it. Maybe just drop that into chat where you think you can use it, or feel free to open up the mic and ask a question, or even make a comment on how you might be able to.
Yeah, open up the mic. Don't be shy. I'm happy to talk. I don't eat people.
We've got a hand up. Who was that? Is that old one, is it?
Yes, really enjoyed that. Thank you, Kim. And I totally agree with you. I think stories are the way to go. Interestingly, I did a post on Instagram about a month ago saying how sick I was and showing a horrible photo of my face with blisters and everything. And that post had 500% more views than any other post on Instagram. Now,
Wow.
there was a positive side to this very negative sort of what started as a negative post, but it was just me sharing from the heart about, people always, showing that everything's rosy on socials. And, I wanted to show that, no matter how much work you do on yourself, no matter how much personal development, sometimes we have our low moments, right? And so, I love that. And I love what you're saying about, connecting and engaging. My question is to you, when you do a post where you're sharing from the heart, would you say always put a photo with it? Would you say do more videos? What would you say the most impactful posts are when you're sharing stories on social media?
Well, if it's primarily a text-based post, I'd probably just share a photo, a relevant photo that kind of fits with the theme of the post. Video does have a place, but for instance, on a platform like LinkedIn, people are less inclined to watch videos. Even on Facebook, I'm not very active on Facebook now, but I am thinking of sort of doing a bit more there. I stopped being active in 2018. But when Facebook introduced Facebook Live, I was running lives and I was getting good engagement, lots of comments and things like that. But then it started to drop off, and a lot of other people noticed the same thing. So I went back to text, because text is my standby. It always works. It always works. Once you've built a supportive audience, it always works. Assuming you're writing good content and you're following the rules of content. But yeah, it's all good. But a story like that, I would say, if you can tell it texting, the good thing about text is people can scan it or they can read it in depth. They can't do that with a video. They have to watch the whole thing to get the gist of it. So, but like I say, there is definitely a place for video. No doubt about it. I use it. But yeah, a good photo probably would be great.
Right. Thank you, Kim.
Actually, I do have a question, Kim, as well. What do you think the place of AI is, with stories?
Well, if we're sharing personal stories with a business point, I often call them slice of life stories. During my affiliate marketing heyday, I built a list. It wasn't a huge list, it was about 8,000 subscribers. But I became known for my slice of life stories, especially when I was traveling and all of that. Funny things are happening every day. But the key to that kind of a personal story is to link it back to a business point, if that is your objective. Depends on your objective. So with my email subscribers, I always linked it back to a business point. Even it was about, like, I mean, one of them, I was in the Philippines and it was a ladyboy hairdresser did my hair. Coming from Brisbane, I've never had that happen to me in my whole life. But I could see, it sort of made me laugh, and the ladyboy was very friendly and all the rest of it. So I turned it into a story. The great headline, great subject line, and got a lot of opens from that, But there was a business point. There's always a business point for my business-oriented emails. Social media, a bit different. Sometimes I just, like yesterday on LinkedIn, if you've got an account with LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me, or same on Facebook, Kim Willis. And I shared the story. I got rejected at the Vietnam border. They wouldn't let me out of the country because they said I overstayed my visa, right, by 10 days or something like that. Well, not strictly true, because they gave me the wrong date on the visa. I asked for a 30-day visa, and I thought they'd just wave it through because it was clearly their error. No, we're going to be a super pet ant here. You're going back to Saigon, right? So I got onto this jalopy old bus, paid him $10 and went back to Saigon and cooled my heels. That was on Saturday, just a few days ago. Cooled my heels until the immigration department opened on Monday morning. So anyway, that's being sorted now, I believe. But the point is that I was on the way back on the bus, I thought, there's a story here. I think I'm going to write about it. Okay, I'm going to write about it. I'm not pitching anything and I'm not trying to sell anything. I just wrote the story, and I posted it on Monday morning on LinkedIn, and then I posted it today on Facebook. LinkedIn does better for me now because I've built an engaged audience. I had an engaged audience on. This is the thing: if you neglect the socials for any length of time, they go away, and you've got to kind of rebuild again. But so I don't expect I'll get a lot of comments for the Facebook posts, but I'm up to over 60 on LinkedIn. It's pretty good.
One of the comments on your Facebook post was my comment. I saw Paul Kennedy in there as well too.
Good. Yeah, it might pick up a few more tomorrow and Thursday, But if I was still super active on Facebook, like I was, 4 years ago, that post would have got 200, 150, something like that.
Nick, are you there?
I am.
Good day. Hi, Kim. Hello, Nick. Paul Kennedy.
Hey, Paul.
Kim and I know each other well, and I'd like to tell a Kim story, if I may, and there's a little learning in there. Kim, I think this is actually your second time that you've actually sat in on Business Owners Smashing It Online. Is that right?
Yes.
And I remember the last time you were here and another person was the guest speaker, and I think you left at around about 7:28 Brisbane time.
Yes.
And then Nick did the lucky draw and went around the circle, and it stopped interestingly at your name. And
I
you
know.
won the prize, but in fact, you weren't actually here. You'd left at about 7:28.
So I forfeited.
You did. So the little story I was going to tell was a Kim Willis story, and it just proves, Nick, you should never leave business owners smashing it online early.
Right.
Always stay until the end.
And what a great illustration that, here we stick to our word. You have to be in the room.
Yeah, good.
Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy the smile, and I did. I thought it was a bit ironic, so I'm looking forward to what happens tonight, Kim.
Yes. Who's the lucky person? The lucky
Actually, I think we have your name in the draw as well. So all going well, you'll probably win your own prize.
Well, it's probably time for you to go, Kim.
Pardon? Maybe time to go.
For you to go.
No, I'll stay.
All right. Any last questions at all? Any last question or comment before we actually move into the prize draw for tonight?
Yeah, I just want to say it's just 7:28 p.m. now, which is really ironic that you mentioned that, Paul.
Yes.
All right. Well, actually, do you want to unshare your screen again, Kim? And while you're doing that, why don't you tell us about the door prize, what it is, and then we can go ahead and draw it.
Yeah, it's called Connect and Convert. It consists of a course plus some group support for people who are possibly struggling a little bit in the online world, especially social media. It's become a big thing in, well, the last decade or more. Social selling, they call it. Become a big thing, and a lot of people still struggle with it. They're not getting engagement, they're getting few if any leads, and they're not making money or very little. So I aim to rectify that without it costing an arm and a leg. So I've got, some bigger businesses come to me, and they're people with more financial resources, and they pay a lot of money. But I know that there is another group of people who aren't at that point yet. They're hungry for solutions. They're feeling a bit of an itch, bit of discomfort with what's happening with their little venture. But, they just don't know which way to go. So I've come up with a solution to the problem. And although it's valued at $9.97, the official launch price is $4.95, but I've got an early bird, $3.95, $100 off. And so it includes 19 video lessons. It includes some live clinics on Zoom and other support. It's pretty good.
Fabulous. So that is the door prize tonight. And actually, it might be good if you've got a link to that. Also, Kim, to drop that into chat. Or if you haven't, we can shoot the link out tomorrow when we send the email out tomorrow.
Yeah, do that.
All right. Well, let's bring up our wheel of names. And everyone's name is in this wheel of names. And remember that now is not the time to leave. So don't do what Kim did that last time. So stick around and you may be the lucky winner. All right, let's spin the wheel and see who our winner is tonight. So virtual drum roll on the desk in front of you, on your knees, on your head. And we'll see where it stops. And it is Mark Bertonetti. Are you still here, Mark? Let's just have a look and see whether the mark is here. There is a mark here. That's Mark Instar. But no, Mark has done an Elvis. He has left the room. All right, well, let's remove Mark and let's redraw that again. So second spin draw. And see who our second chance is. And it is Blake Fox. Look at that. Fabulous. I know Blake's in the room here. Are you there, Blake?
Yeah, I'm here.
Actually, I know he is. I think he probably hasn't got his microphone on tonight. All right. Well, Blake, you are tonight's lucky winner. So congratulations. We will connect you with Kim tomorrow by email, and then you can organise to get access to that there. So congratulations. And thanks again,
Well done.
Kim, for coming onto the show tonight. And I have to say that it was a bit remiss of me. I also need to thank Paul Kennedy for referring you to me. I think he might have made that introduction on LinkedIn. So I was half right that I found you on LinkedIn. The other part of the story was Paul that had actually introduced us.
Yes, he did.
Excellent. So if you have enjoyed tonight, then this will be up on YouTube tomorrow. So if you want to view it again on YouTube, or if you want to point anyone along there, it'll be up on the YouTube channel tomorrow. The link to that is in the chat now. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, Business Owners Smashing Online, now's a good time to go and join. So if you just click on that link in chat, then we'll accept you in. Now's also a good time to save the chat. So all of those comments and that are in chat and all of those links to the online tools. I've only got half of the chat because of the technical issues that are here. You're likely to have more than I do. So click on those three little dots on the top right-hand side or down the bottom if you've got an older version of Zoom in chat, and you can save that to your computer. When you do save it, there'll be a link that'll pop up that'll take you straight there as well, so you don't have to hunt around for that downloads folder. All right, well, once again, thanks, Kim, for joining us tonight in a place that you're not expected to be, having been turned around at the border.
Yeah.
And thanks, everyone, for coming along tonight too, and look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a good night.